So the episode starts out in Gildan with Logain like taking over. You know, he's chasing the king who only has like a couple of guys with him, and King's got a big wound on his shoulder, and he goes over to him and the king's like, I already called the Aes Sedai. They're gonna get you.
The Aes Sedai will come for you.
Then he basically steps on the real Dragon Reborn's dick when he expresses the sentiment that the Aes Sedai should be fighting with him instead of against him. And I'm trying not to spoil anything super early on here, although I will say there will be spoilers. So if you haven't read the books, stop, go read the books. If you haven't seen the show, stop, thank yourself, and move on with your life. Go read the books. No, but like, technically this is from the book. Kind of, although none of this was shown in the book because this isn't the main story. This is like a huge deviation from the main story. Right now, we should be focusing on Rand and Matt on their journey to Camelin and Perrin and Egwene on their journey to Camelin, where they all eventually meet up. But instead of having all of that really great shit, we're doing this. And now the entire episode is going to basically revolve around Logain having captured him, and then Logain's men trying to break him free, and there's all kinds of problems with all of that stuff. This entire episode is a giant departure from the main story and could have gone to the development of our main characters, and I can't for the life of me imagine what in the hell Rafe Judkins was thinking when he made the decision to just completely throw chapters worth of development and world building and good, well-planned, carefully thought through story elements that Robert Jordan put together into the garbage disposal and just instead focus on shit that like 90% of the shit that happens in this episode isn't even kind of in the book. Two of the main characters in this episode are characters from New Spring that had 2 chapters, and I'm pretty sure those 2 characters weren't even featured in those chapters. They were just mentioned. Like Moiraine was supposed to deliver a letter to Carini, and later on it's surmised that they were killed by the Black Aja. They die off screen. But if you watch this episode, you're like, wow, they are getting a lot of development, a lot of screen time. They must be pretty important. They're not. We don't need the wound anymore because we're done blaming Lan for all of this.
You've killed us all.
I lost them.
Your losses are mine.
So that'll no longer drive the plot. The stuff that they're doing with the magic system in this show is very, very concerning. It's a huge part of what almost everything else is going to be built around, especially in this story. The magic system almost is the entire story. So fucking with it is pretty bad. And the reason I mention it here is because they're about to start talking about shielding and how that works, and they're going to get that completely wrong. Shielding works basically like this. You make a shield out of spirit and you put it in between the mind of the channeler who you wish to shield and the source. If the channeler you're trying to shield is already holding the one power, it is going to be exponentially harder to shield that person, depending on their power. In this story, they say,
we crept into his camp and shielded him as he slept.
And if that's true, then they got lucky. They have him shielded, and now he's fucked. The Aes Sedai are holding his shield, and they're going to bring him back to Tar Valon, and they'll gentle him. That's what happens in the book. They tell you that in like a throwaway line. Why do they tell it to you in a throwaway line? Well, it's because Logain's not a big part of the story. He's not a main character. He stays out of the story for like 10 books. So wasting an entire fucking episode on him seems a little ill-advised. Anyway, once the shield is on, there's almost nothing the person being shielded can do. They go into this in depth in the book. You could overpower the person holding your shield, but it takes a monumental effort, even if the one holding the shield is very weak in the one power. And the result of breaking the shield under that circumstance would likely burn the person who's shielding you out, cutting them off from the source forever. All of this shit happens in this episode, and they get every single one of those details wrong.
Healing one wound shouldn't have strained you.
It hasn't. He has.
It's far harder to keep a shield on someone than to break out of it.
Only Leandrin, Alana, and I are strong enough to shield him from using the one power.
It's like holding a cat in the bath. He looks like he's just sitting there.
Not a bead of sweat on his brow, not a tremor in his lip while we're almost ragged.
The only way that Logain can tax them is by flexing against the shield. He has to exert his effort against the shield in order to make it hard for you to hold the shield. This is a fundamental misunderstanding of how the magic system in this series works. It's like if you had a ton of leverage against something that's really heavy, you can easily hold it. The weight of that thing would have to increase exponentially for you to have to struggle. Even a weak person could still hold it, but if it somehow magically got way heavier, then you might have to like get somebody to help you or whatever. And someone as powerful as Karenni, one of the most powerful Aes Sedai in the tower, wouldn't even barely feel it. She'd be like, "Oh, that's cute. You're trying really hard, aren't you? Oh."
We have hundreds of miles yet to the White Tower. You really think we can keep this up the whole way?
That's what she said. No time!
If it's that hard to hold the shield, don't you think you should have more help? Like, maybe you should link? Oh, wait a minute. What's linking? What is this? Well, it happens at the end. There's actually a way that women can be much, much, much stronger, and it's by linking. That's an option. They could have just added another couple of sisters. There's 7 of them in this encampment. There's going to be problems with this down the line. And this brings up another issue with this episode. You went out to capture a false dragon, not just any false dragon, one who can channel. A false dragon who can channel very strongly. He's highly powerful, and you would have known that because you get reports from the eyes and the ears all over the fucking world that you have. They know how strong he is, but yet they only send 7 sisters and a fucking handful of warders to go in and capture him. They didn't send a fucking army. Which makes the attack at the end of this episode even more ridiculous. There's a point in the series where Rand breaks through a shield that's being held by 3 sisters. Rand does not brute force this shield. He has to draw upon the memories of Luz Theron, the original dragon, in order to even know how to do that in the first place. They make reference to that in this episode, but they give that to Logain.
I can hear them when I channel. All of them. Whispers of 1,000 dragons that preceded me, 1,000 lives. And they're teaching me how to do better this time.
But Logain doesn't have access to the memories of the previous dragons because he's not the dragon reborn. You don't just get access to the memories of all the previous dragons just because you're channeling Saidin. That's just not the way it fucking works. And that better not be what he's saying, because that'll be yet another major change to the magic system. But it's also another time where you imply that the dragon could be a woman. In fact, you're not just implying it this time, you're actually confirming it by saying that Logain has access to those memories, and one of those voices that he's hearing is a woman's voice.
He'll betray you.
So you're confirming it at the same time as breaking the magic system, at the same time as stepping on Rand's dick. God, you suck, dude. You're fucking so bad. You're so fucking bad. It's actually impressive. Okay. All right. Moving on. As fast as we are moving past things that are incredibly important, the Tinkers should have been gone. We should have moved on from them already. If you're going to cut something to focus on something else, this is one of the things that you could cut.
There's only one way to end violence. Everybody, everywhere has to stop.
In other words, there's no way to end violence. The way of the leaf is stupid.
Dana said there were dark friends everywhere.
Matt's response to this should be, yeah, well, she was a dark friend. Do you trust her? Tom, yeah, he stole our fucking money, which was weird. Rafe, looking at you, but he also saved our lives. He didn't need to do that. Okay, if he's a dark friend, all he's got to do is sit back and watch. Maybe he wanted to take the credit. Fine. That's your strongest argument. We'll keep an eye on him for sure. But maybe let's not like base all of our plans on the word of a dark friend. So what they're doing here is they're doing the part of the story where Rand and Matt are stopping at farms to work for food and a night's shelter, and Matt is carrying this dagger from Shadar Logoth, which is poisoning his soul essentially, and it's making him all evil and shit. And they're referencing a part in the book where Rand's inner monologue says, at least when kids are around, Matt lightens up a little bit and he starts juggling and shit like that. And that's what gives them the idea to perhaps perform at inns instead of having to stop at farms and stuff like that, because stopping at farms has been super problematic. Sometimes it doesn't even work, but sometimes they get dogs sent on them. And performing at inns would give them food, shelter, and sometimes even some money. So that's what they're doing here. They're sort of referencing that, but they're just doing it in a way that's like stupid. This little girl comes up and gives him some bread, and she's like, my mom sent me out here to give you this bread all by myself. And then when Matt asks what her name is, she's like,
I can't tell you. Mama says you're strange and told me to give you her message and come right back.
and the Mother of the Year award goes to this little kid's stupid ass mom. If you don't trust two strange men that are like mucking out your barn, why are you sending your little girl out by herself? Why wouldn't you go yourself? Or why wouldn't you have the fucking dad go? Or the dad go with his son? This is what I'm talking about. It's bad writing. He's not a good writer. He's a bad writer. That's what he is. Bad writer.
You took us half a day in the wrong direction to get here.
The Aes Sedai will get Loki into the tower as fast as they can. If your friends aren't there already.
Let me just remind everybody what is at stake here. Rand, Matt, Perrin, and Egwene, 4 out of the 5 people from Emond's Field that Moiraine thinks one of them is the Dragon Reborn, are still out there in the wind, and Trollocs, Myrddraal, dark friends, and spies are all looking for them. As far as Moiraine is concerned, the world literally depends on her finding these people. Why the fuck would you go
Half a day in the wrong direction?
You have a more important mission. Normally, a false dragon wouldn't be a small thing, but next to the end of the world? Yeah, a false dragon's kind of a small thing. Not to mention, your sisters all have it under fucking control, or at least they did in the book. Here, they completely botched this entire operation because they didn't bring any fucking backup, and then they get attacked. It's so stupid. Just, it's fine.
Is he just gonna stand there and let us do all the work?
A Glee man must stay fresh before a performance.
You are no Glee man. You are a guitar player with a scratchy voice. That's it. Fucking meaningless lip service to Tom's character. This is something that Tom might say. Of course, Tom wouldn't be in this situation in the first place. He would have talked his way onto a boat, or they'd be at an inn and he'd be performing there because Gleemen are highly prized. Fire yourself, please. I hate you. And everybody else hates you too. Everybody thinks you stink because you stink. You're a stinky idiot.
The mayor flung him 10 feet into a pig trough.
Fancy name.
Yeah, for a shit horseman. How'd you get stuck with him?
I tracked him.
There's a lot in this scene. One, you're shitting on Lan. You know, everyone, they're just teasing him. Nobody would do this with Lan. Nobody. Lan wouldn't be sitting here at a fire, having a drink, hanging out with his friends, and fucking smiling and sharing little stories and shit like that. Wild horses couldn't pull Lan away from Moiraine's side right now because she's in the room with a false dragon, a man who can channel, and that's a dangerous thing. Especially if it's the way that they have it set up, where holding the shield is like holding a cat in a bath. That's a really hard thing to do. You could easily get away from you, especially if there's only 2 of you. He would be able to feel Moiraine's strain and stress, and she would be able to feel that he's drunk. He's been drinking all day. He would be a bit tipsy by now, and she'd be like holding the shield and going, oh, fuck. Have you ever tried to hold a cat in a bath while drunk?
I shouldn't have had a drink. You always get emotional when I drink.
And that's without drawing attention to the obligatory gayness in this scene. So I'm just hanging out with my boyfriend. Fuck off, dude. It's the literal Game of Thronesification of a very Tolkienian story. It's just like water and oil. They are like, they repel each other. And yet you're just fucking forcing it in there. You're raping the story. That's what you're doing. This is where they imply that everybody's fucking.
The 3 of them don't.
Yeah, we all fuck each other. It's great. Everybody's fucking each other. Wheel of Time is a wholesome story about good versus evil. Adding in this like adult element is It's like a deconstruction of the heart and soul of the story. It's like when they make Superman into a communist, or like when they make Captain America into a Nazi. And this is kind of what woke Hollywood prides itself on. This is what woke Hollywood does for fun. It's like what the Dark One did to Saidin, except it's worse because Saidin is still Saidin underneath. You just have to reach through the taint that the Dark One put on it. Whereas this is not Wheel of Time underneath. It's pretty much the opposite. It's like this is just woke Hollywood, Game of Thronesification, narcissism, ego on top of cliche, cringy shit writing. And there's a little film of Wheel of Time floating on top of it sometimes. And from what I've heard, this show just gets worse.
Is he as strong as he went? Dark One isn't after Logain.
Perhaps he is.
Yeah, no. If you know anything about this story, you know for sure there is no way that Moiraine would think even for a second Logain might actually be the Dragon Reborn. No one thinks that because they know when the Dragon Reborn was born. They actually know. If you read New Spring, and apparently somebody did because they're pulling characters out of that book, they know when he was born. They've been tracking him since he was born. Logain is like 50 million years old. Math.
I'm here. You know that, right?
I guess I should give them credit for at least trying to put something from the book in here. But again, they've shoehorned it in. They haven't set it up in the slightest. This scene where Rand is telling Matt that he's not leaving,
no matter what happens, I'm here.
In the book, the way they set it up actually connects to the reader. When you read it, you might even cry. Matt is in a very, very vulnerable state, and he's afraid that Rand is going to leave him. And it makes you really, really love these characters too. It shows how altruistic Rand is. It shows how close they are as friends. It's really, really good. But here it's just like nothing's happened. Matt is sick. That's it. He's throwing up. Why would he be afraid that Rand is going to leave? Oh, Matt threw up on the ground. Okay. It might make you go, ew. I cannot imagine the mentality of a person who thinks that's a sufficient setup.
Hurry! Stop!
Yeah, there's just more made up shit. This dream didn't happen in the book. They could have easily taken one of the dream sequences from the book and just filmed it. Why not? And you still haven't introduced Baalzamon as a character. Every single time he's shown up, he's just been a jump scare. And not even a good one either. Just like and just get the fire in his eyes and shit.
Get him out of here! Come on!
I don't know. I guess we're supposed to be happy that this scene happened. Like, one of the things that I hear people saying is, for a lot of it, like, I don't understand why they made these changes, this, that, and the other thing. But there are actual times where it really feels like Wheel of Time. And those are the times I try to focus on. And to them, I'm just wondering, what times does it feel like Wheel of Time? I've watched 5 episodes so far. 4 of them I've watched multiple times, and I don't see anything. I see instances like this where they pull on something from the books that happened in a different place at a different point in time and just throw it in sort of scattershot. This is the closest thing that they have so far to something that really did happen in the book. A Fade attacks them at Whitebridge, and Tom sacrifices himself to let them escape. It happens here. It's kind of a hybrid of a bunch of different stuff. And at this point, they might as well not have done this because Tom just met them last episode. And now he's sacrificing himself to save them. In the book, he goes through 25 chapters with them before he sacrifices himself to help them escape. You get plenty of setup for that. Here, we have nothing. Like, Tom steals their money and smirks a couple of times. He threatens to kill Matt.
You'll bleed out before you could lay a finger on me.
He lets Matt steal from a corpse, which I guess was supposed to be a bonding moment. And then he saves their life. They still don't trust him.
Dana said there were dark friends everywhere.
And now he's saving their lives again. It's like, You haven't set up Tom as a character. In the book, we know plenty about Tom by this point. We've had plenty of different interactions with Tom where he shows who he is and interact with the other characters and stuff like that. We know Tom. But at this point in the show, we don't. We've seen him a little bit in the last episode. He's had like maybe 5 minutes of screen time. And then in this episode, he's had about another 5 minutes of screen time. Probably even less than that. And the thing that drives me the most crazy is that scenes like this are the scenes that people are going to point to and say, well, what about that? That was good. And it's just like, it just reminds me of like a domestic abuse victim. Well, he's good sometimes. Today he made me breakfast. He brought me breakfast in bed. Yeah, but last night he fucking beat you, dude. Last night the cops were there. What the fuck, dude? I, for one, am not going to let them just get away with it. I'm going to painstakingly go through this entire fucking series and rip it out by the roots. All right, so the way it happens in this idiot episode is that the wards that Karini set...
What is it?
Are tripped by Logain's army coming to break him free. Because of that distraction, Logain is able to break the shield because there's only 2 Aes Sedai holding him, even though they've reinforced like 20 fucking times in this episode how difficult it is to hold a shield, which that's not true either. If it was really difficult to hold a shield, they would absolutely always bring a ton of Aes Sedai with them to help hold the shield. They'd be linked the entire time, and they would still fail quite often. It would... Anyway, when they set out to go and capture Logain, they forgot to bring an army with them because, I don't know, he has an army. I don't know why they didn't think of that. Why didn't you think of that, ladies? All they brought was their warders. Not even all of the Aes Sedai have warders because the Red Sisters don't use warders. So then, you know, like they have to hold off the army while they get to the cave, which is really, really far away for some ungodly reason. I don't know how far this cave is away, but it takes them a really long time to get there. Even if we're saying that the reason it takes them so long to get there is because they have to hold off the army. But shouldn't the entrance to the cave be like right here? Right at the edge of their camp? Why wouldn't you camp around the cave or inside the cave? There's only fucking like 15 of you. Why would you not have an army with you as well? It's just so dumb that they don't have an army to hold. This is why you need an army. So that if somebody else's army, say the false dragon that you are capturing and transporting back to the White Tower, maybe his army comes and tries to break him out. You think? It's just so stupid. It's just so stupid. They're having to run through the woods to get there, like far away. Look how far they're running. Yeah, you see how their warders are having to block arrows with shields, which, by the way, warders don't use shields, but whatever. While the Aes Sedai have to like fight while getting shot at and shit. That's why you take an army right there. And this little tiny army that comes that Leandrin says, oh,
no army can get past 7 full sisters.
They get past the 7 Aes Sedai. Several of you die. So, you know, I guess that wasn't true. Not to mention that more than half of you are too weak to even hold Logain's shield. And you didn't expect Moiraine to show up. Moiraine is the 7th Aes Sedai. You only had 6. The more I talk about this, the more I find wrong with it. Yeah, they become surrounded like almost instantly. The reason that's possible is because there's only 7 of them. Also, this guy's fucking quiver is between his legs. Why is he shooting 3 arrows at a time? You're not Legolas. So Logain breaks out. He's got control of the 1 power, and they try to shield him again. But then, while he's being shielded, he lashes out with the 1 power, which proves that that's possible. So keep that in mind, and kills Karini. This sends Steppen into the you just killed my Aes Sedai warder death rage thing, but it's on like a timer delay because we still need him alive for the moment. And then they finally get to the cave. Steppen comes in, and now he goes into the death rage as soon as he sees Logain and attacks Logain while he's being shielded. His axes hit the 1 power that represents the shield being placed on Logain. The blade stops at the shield as if it was a force field, which isn't a thing, by the way. It's the 1 one power, he wouldn't even be able to see it. It's invisible to the eye. It's not a cocoon of air that you are forcing onto him. It's a weave that is made of spirit that is placed in between Logain's mind and the source. That's not going to block a blade. Like, if this actually happened in the book, Logain's dead because Steppen kills him in this scene. The blade hits the thing, but it goes part of the way through, and on the other side of the cocoon that's becoming a shield, I guess, like Logain's one power is on the other side of the cocoon. How the fuck is this supposed to work? Anyway, it gains access to the blade, and then he shatters the blade, and the pieces of the blade go flying into everybody's face, neck, chest, and breast area. Something that Rafe Judkins has obviously forgotten and or never knew about in the first place. Because of the Dark One's taint on saidin, the Red Ajah's entire job since the breaking of the world has been to gentle and or kill all men who can channel. As a result of that, men who can channel tend not to live very long. So there's no one around who could have taught Logain how to do all the crazy shit he does in this episode. Let's do a count. First, he breaks out of a shield that is being held by two Aes Sedai. Then he holds a really dumb conversation with Moiraine. While defending against three Aes Sedai who are trying to re-shield him, he manages to lash out against them not once, but twice. The first time with 3 separate weaves of air. He scores a kill. The second time he gets attacked by Steppen, grabs the axe, shatters it into a bunch of different pieces, and then flings those pieces into like 10 different people. Every single one of those shards is a separate weave. He's got to split his focus in all of those different directions. Dude, that's some Dragon Reborn shit. Who taught him how to do all that? At this point, the literal only option would have been Mazrim Taim. But being that he and Logain both think that they're the Dragon Reborn and are in different parts of the world, Saldea, where Mazrim Taim is way the fuck up here, while Ghealdan is way the fuck down here by the 2 rivers. Not to mention the fact they're both wilders, people who have only managed a rough control over the one power because they've had to teach themselves, and neither of them would actually have figured out these endgame strats. I don't know. Doesn't seem all that likely. It sure as fuck doesn't happen in the books. And no, women can't teach men how to channel. saidin and saidar are just way too different. In the books, they describe it as the difference of like a bird trying to teach a fish how to fly. They're dealing with different shit. How does Logain know how to do all this crazy shit? Well, I'll tell you how. The guy writing him has a shield between his brain and the source material. Nynaeve, who has had one pleasant conversation with Lan, is completely in love with them already. She freaks out and saves everybody with an instinctive, like, one power explosion, which, by the way, that's not a thing either. This isn't World of Warcraft. You can't do like a mass heal. It's not a thing. Sorry, you have to make physical contact with the person that you're healing. This isn't the Age of Legends. Fuck you, Rafe Judkins. You're an idiot. You have no idea how this power works. That's 3 major changes to the magic system now. While this is happening, of course, Logain is doing nothing to save himself. He's just hanging out now. He's just like, okay, let's just talk now. Okay, I'm out, but it's fine. There's a point where Nynaeve's braid becomes undone. I don't know why it comes undone. Why does she care so much about Lan already? She's literally had one nice conversation with him. It's so stupid, dude. Also, this is the scene where Nynaeve basically gets confirmed as the 5th possibility for the Dragon Reborn.
Like a radiant sun.
Which is yet another instance where they imply very heavily and liberally that the Dragon Reborn could even possibly be a woman, which it can't. So remember how we confirmed earlier that Logain can lash out with the one power even as he's being shielded? Remember that? Well, he's not even being shielded in this scene, and he's not lashing out with the one power. They wrap him up in what looks to be air, because if this was the shield, it would look like the cocoon like we saw earlier. And now they're going to gentle him. But there's nothing holding him back from using the one power. He basically lets himself be gentled here. Oh no, my arms are trapped at my sides. I can't weave. Which, now that I think of it, that's another huge change to the magic system. The cutting off of the hands thing from episode 2. That's another big change, and maybe that's what they're doing here. Yeah, you can't change the magic system. That's that breaks the universe that you're trying to adapt. Everybody's dancing. Everybody's doing a choreographed dance in order to make this weave happen. Otherwise, this scene right here. Okay, so just so you know, I'm not made of stone. This scene is not completely. No, it is. It's completely retarded. Some of the visuals in this scene are kind of neat. I kind of like the way they've represented the one power being weaved and the whole linking thing. I kind of appreciated that. Even though there are things fundamentally wrong with that representation, because by all accounts, it seems like the weaves are visible to everybody. Even though earlier in the episode, they say that women can't see men's weaves.
I mean, I always knew women couldn't see men's weaves.
Which is an acknowledgement that weaves are supposed to be invisible. But if the weaves are invisible, why do they light up the area? Like, literally, it lights things up physically. It's like, dude, what are you doing? What are you doing? We have a new winner. This is the worst episode so far. Every episode is the worst episode. I don't know how they do it. That's it. I'm done. I'm fucking done. This show is garbage. We have a new winner, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 4. It's the worst. Whatever. Guys, thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you're enjoying this series, feel free to join the Discord. You know, we talk about this, like, you know, I'm in there. You can talk to me about this series if you'd like. And, you know, I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. Even if you like the series, I'd still like to know. I'd still like to hear your opinions on it. I won't be mean to you, probably. Please like, share, and subscribe. All my links are in the description. And I'll see you in episode 5, where we do more retarded shit that I'm going to hate. See you guys then. Peace. Why do you have a corduroy coat? Whose idea was the corduroy? This is just a crazy idea. You could have given him a Glee Man's cloak. Do you ever think of that? Assholes. I guess we're supposed to shit ourselves with glee over the Brigitte doll.